Well, I wanted to document the ENTP grieving process because typically speaking, it's very short-lived and very hard for most people in the public to see because we're good at hiding our feelings incredibly well. And anyways, a dog I cared much about died this morning at 1 o'clock in the morning or around that time because the ENTJ woke me up and asked me to carry in the dog because it went outside and refused to come back in. And it was it had cancer, and we just got the diagnosis on Friday. And so, but the INFP veterinarian, her Indian needs to do some work. She's like, oh no, he's got 14 days to live and things like that. Oh, he had four, and which is disappointing because we had a protocol we were going to follow and a different thing consisting of intermittent fasting. I had a bunch of supplements and cancer fighting different things like beta glucan and fucoidan and different things like that, and on the way to jumpstart the immune system. And I just didn't have enough time. And so, how do ENTPs grieve? Well, ENTPs don't really have any FI. We have FE. And so, a lot of grief really comes from a lot of guilt and a lot of feeling like you didn't really do enough, you know? And even if something as simple as a dog or pets and things like that, any is always searching everyone's future. Anybody who's involved in my life, anybody who's involved with people I'm involved with in their lives, they're just threads. It's patterns. It's like a wheel of time. You have the pattern and a thread gets pulled from it, and now it's no longer there. And so when it comes to Gladiator Tiberius, he was one of these threads, and now he's no more. And part of the guilt process is knowing my future, and the nemesis is strong with that, is that I will get over this really, really fast. And the dog deserves more than that. But, I'll be upset for a couple of days and then I'll move on. It's part of the being a starter, I guess. And, I'm looking back, when I first came here to Texas, and there were signs, I was like, okay, he's acting like an older dog. He's 12 years old. We just turned 12 in December as we just celebrated his birthday, so he technically was the first person I ever sang happy birthday to. And, we just celebrated that birthday, and Ray got him a cake and some taco shell over at Taco Cabana, where he really likes the steaks take there at Taco Cabana, and different little things. He was having issues with fleas, which he never had in the past, and typically that's nature's way of taking care of things. And insects kind of clean up the earth and get rid of decaying bodies, as morbid as that sounds. Um, there was different patterns too of a couple months back of him just being like really, really emotional and emo, which isn't like him. I typed the dog as an ESTP. He definitely was a very healthy ESTP. He was always about, making other people happy, and entertaining. He loved being the center of attention. Um, he was a very alpha dog, very protective of his pack, and he was very welcoming to me when I came here. I didn't ever have any beef. It was just like I was part of the family pretty quickly. And I felt like the dog would have killed for me, and I've only known it for 6 months. But just little things like that. And so, how ENTPs grieve is they look back on what they could have done different, and because they are SI users, we're past focused, and you get a lot of FE guilt, on our child that we didn't really do enough. We were being selfish, and we didn't put his interests above my own, and hopefully, I learn from these mistakes. you know. And so that's the case there. And so even now, I'm mad at myself also because I'm not even giving him due time to process this myself, my own personal feelings, because my own feelings are irrelevant. Now I'm literally having to readjust the future of my boyfriend, and because the dog is deeply intertwined in his lifestyle, and so I'm literally thinking about how this changes. I'm like deducing that situation now of what's his future. Now that the dog's no longer here, because I had this future figured out with the dog, and I was pretty sure what that was going to be. Now I'm kind of in turmoil because those futures are in limbo. You know, um, it's interesting. Because the dog literally went for a walk yesterday a couple of times. He was very happy, and all of a sudden, he just his behavior changed. Ray was at the gym, and so I called him up and I said, "Hey, he's acting strange again." He was doing that weird gasping thing because he has liver cancer and spleen cancer, and um, something along the line makes the tumor bleed into his stomach, and it makes him gasp. And now, granted, the way the veterinarian described it, I thought it would be a lot more gruesome than what it was, and essentially, he, like a good ESTP, thinking about other people and not wanting to make a mess, essentially rang his bell to go outside, open the door, like we went outside. He never came back in. And he essentially laid out there and just died. And no mess to clean up for us, you know. Um, Although we did bring him back inside. And there's now a corpse at the bottom of the stairs. And so he's got to figure out whether he's going to cremate him or bury him. Technically, his house is on a cemetery, and so he could legally bury him here if he wanted to. But I think he's going to cremate him because the ENTJ is like physical mementos to remember things by. And so he has past pets and urns, and of course his mother's ashes and things like that. Um, it makes me really reflect on death in general. Um, when my brother died in 2006, um, I was only 22 or 21, somewhere around there, and I wasn't. Um, it's crazy about ENTPs and how it's kind of scary because I had work this morning. I had 8 students I had to teach, and so the dog dies at 1 o'clock, and I had classes at 3 a.m. And so I had to move the body around, comfort, Ray in his situation, and I literally told him, I was like, "Hey, listen, I need to help you for what you need to do right now, but I need 30 minutes to collect myself so I can go to work." And sure enough, I taught all my students, I put on the happy face with my puppets and taught English. Um, and now I can't sleep because I haven't figured out everyone's future yet. I haven't figured out my own future, on this kind of stuff because this changes things. It's something as simple as a dog. Uh, I had to cancel some of the supplements I ordered that are only dog only, and so I got to return that probably on Friday. Um, Things like that. So yeah, so essentially, it's not a whole lot of mourning for an ENTP. It's mostly like just guilt, and you feel bad for the other people that are affected. Um, I remember when my grandmother died. I always felt guilty that was I really that good of a grandson when she died. Um, Looking back now as an adult, yes, but as a teenager, I was 17 when she died. I didn't think so. I thought I could think and remember back to how many different times when I didn't appreciate her, I wasn't nice to her, and things like that. And those behaviors are kind of inexcusable. And and the same thing for the dog, even. It's just like he was always there. I always wanted to. always, trying to entertain, always wanting me to play with them and things like that. And I was like, and so like, but I know he felt loved, and so he didn't die unhappy. He chose when to die. It's interesting that animals seem to do it. Although I think my grandmother did the same thing too. Uh, you know, we just, all right, I'm done. You know, and it was interesting that he had one last meal with us. You know, um, we were limiting his sugar intake due to the cancer and things like that. So I just made him just some straight grilled chicken and eggs, just straight protein, and he ate it, and was drinking some peppermint tea that I was making for him to help his stomach. Um, and I mean, he was eating some of the calcium stuff and things like that I made for him, and we just thought we had more time to deal with it, and unfortunately we didn't, And so now we have a dead dog in our life, and Ray views him like a son. He's had him for 12 years. It's a puppy, and it's going to be missed. And so, yeah, and so if you ever, curious, as ENTPs feel pain, um, we usually hide it very well. However, memorials and things like that are very devastating to us because it's all FE. And so you're in a room full of a bunch of tortured FI. FE users are really, really uncomfortable in those circumstances, especially ones such as FE child or FE inferior, due to the fact that we just don't have the capabilities of the FE hero or parent to handle that. And it can be pretty devastating and overwhelming. And so, yes, with my extroverted intuition, I lost a shotgun spray. And now I gotta literally rebuild one that was deeply intertwined with somebody. And that's kind of how it is. I feel guilty, of not acting sooner. I should have had him on supplementation and the other stuff much earlier, but I was being cheap. And I admit guilt to that. I wasn't sure how long I was going to be here in Texas. This has still been a trial run. Don't know how long I'll still be here. Eventually I'll probably start traveling again. Um, uh, and so that's how that is. And but yeah, so I wanted to get this on something on camera, so if people can know things like that. And so lots of turmoil in your extrovert intuition as an ENTP when somebody dies, because a shotgun thread has no future anymore. It's gone. So everybody in my life, I think about their futures all the time, unknowingly, not really, not trying, just thinking about what they're doing or what they're going to do, um, how they affect other people, things like that. I even think about the people at the mall, because we see a lot of the same people over and over again, and they're gonna wonder where he is, because every Sunday or every Saturday, walk him there. And so not anymore. And we just did the Sunday walk just 2 days ago. I actually have video of it. I was going to share with it, but I decided not to. Um, and so turmoil with the NE, because threads disappear. You no longer think about them. FE guilt, you think back, what you could have done differently, how you could have helped them, you could have been more caring, all the mean things you said, um, all the things you're ungrateful, all those kind of things kind of come in turmoil, and that's kind of how ENTPs grieve these kind of things. Um, uh, it makes me, and then I know, and I kind of get mad at myself also, because of I know that I'll get over it really quickly, and I kind of already am, and just deducing the situation, I have my tears, and then I move on, and I find new threads, and that's what life's like. One thread disappears, extroversion kicks in, you find new threads. One storybook ends, another story begins. Start, start. start, start, start. And that's the life of a starter.